What is the correct setting for gain? All right, there's lots of different schools of thought, but I will tell you the correct way to do it, and then you can decide if you want to do it incorrectly or not. But here is the textbook way that you should be doing this. First time I connect something to this channel, I want to assign the input. That's what we did, local socket 1. Then I want to actually see on a nice big meter, I want to see how strong is the signal coming in. So this button at the bottom, right above the fader strip there, is called PAFL. That stands for pre/after fader listen. There'll be a test later, but that's your solo button, right? What that means is two things happen. The first thing is this signal gets routed to this big, nice, shiny meter right here. The other thing that happens is this signal gets routed to the headphone jack right here. Are you guys used to using headphones when you mix? Like not for mixing, but just to being able to listen to individual things? All right, so if I wanted to listen to Lauren's mic just by itself in the middle of a service, I could hit this PAFL button and it would be in my headphones. It wouldn't change anything that's happening in the room. I would just be able to hear Lauren's mic by himself, right? So when I hit this PAFL button, signal comes to the meter, signal goes to the headphones. All right, so what am I trying to do by doing that? I want to look at this. I can have the fader turned all the way down, and it doesn't matter. It still reads this because this is reading, and you can see the little light here also. This is reading signal level coming in. This fader does not affect that. That's signal level going out. We're only concerned right now with the level coming into the channel. All right, so what I want to do is, within this board, there is a certain amount of electronic noise that's just inherent in any electronic equipment, right? So if I just had a very low signal coming in, like I just had this gain turned way down, and regardless of how loud Lauren talked, it just didn't get very high on the meter, I would then have to, I'm just gonna, for the sake of illustration, I'm gonna turn the mains down here, but I would have to then have this fader pretty high to get a usable level from it, all right? Also, what's happening with that? Well, here's the noise floor of the mixer, just the electronic noise of the mixer. The mic level that I brought in was just a tiny bit above that. When I turn this fader up, I am turning up the noise and the mic signal together. And so I might get a usable amount of volume out of that, but I am also introducing noise into the system. So if you've ever been to a concert or sat in a church somewhere and every time there was a quiet moment in the service and you heard through the PA, that's exactly what was happening. You had probably 12 channels that were all like low gain, but turned up on the fader a lot. And that's what you did, is you just raised the noise floor of the console up and sent that to the main speakers, right? So the first job that we have when we're bringing something into the console is we want to make sure that we get a healthy signal to noise ratio. We want signal well above the noise floor. So when I'm looking at this meter, what that translates to is I want a signal that's at least half to 2/3 of the way up on this meter for me to consider that to be a nice, clean, good signal to noise ratio signal, right? So with my fader down, I don't even have to have my fader up yet. I'm looking at the meter. I've PAFL'd Lauren's channel, so I'm seeing it here. I'm gonna turn up this preamp until 1, 2, hey, hey, so that when Lauren is talking, the loudest parts are just barely ticking maybe above the 0. Hey, 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 hey. Give him a little bit of headroom. 1, 2, 1, 2. And you'll see, this is a nice detailed view.
I don't have an answer for that.
I know you don't, because you're... All right. And you'll see that the same thing is happening here. This little light goes from like blue, green to green, all the way up to red and yellow, or yellow and red, right? So this is giving you a hint of what this is doing, but this is by far the most detailed view, all right? So what happens if we go the other way? What happens if we just go crazy and we give them all the gain? All right. What we have done now is we have now overdriven the circuitry coming into the console, and that cannot be undone.
I'm not a red.
That cannot be undone. So let's hear what that sounds like. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what that sounds like. Okay. Now, in analog console days, way back, people would run consoles like that almost on purpose, because that's the way you got an old analog console to sound nice and warm, is you overdrove everything, right? And it did work a little bit, because you're talking about like tubes and old stuff, right? This is a digital signal, and it's undergoing an analog to digital conversion. So there is not a warm and fuzzy distortion. There is only instant clipping. So you go from okay, terrible, right? There's nothing in between there, all right? So we definitely, if we're gonna err on any side, we wanna err on the side of being a little bit low rather than too high, because that distorted signal is gonna be in our recording, it's gonna be on our stream, it's gonna be on the TV in the nursery, it's gonna be everywhere that signal goes, it's gonna be distorted, no undoing it, no fixing it, right? So my sweet spot is I wanna be maybe 0-ish, half to 2/3, give him headroom so when he gets excited, hey, he still does not distort. And then I'm good. Now I can turn on my fader. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Now I've got a nice clean signal coming into the console. I've got headroom so that if he yells, I'm still not going to distort, but I've got a nice signal to noise ratio so that I've got no background noise in the signal. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if, and I know people laugh at me when I say this, but if all you did on Sunday morning is do that right there, that process for every channel, and then you went and you just mixed a nice balanced level of everything kind of in, and it sounded pleasant, like everything was kind of in a good relationship with each other. If that's all you did on a Sunday morning, you literally would be ahead of probably 70% of the churches in the U.S. just by doing that. Okay? You've got a clean signal. It's not distorted. It's not noisy. And if you've got a decent sounding mic and a decent sounding instrument, you're probably okay. I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to win any Grammys, but it's probably going to be perfectly serviceable. Okay? So this idea of I got to tweak, whatever, get the basics right first. You're already 70 or 80% of the way there just by doing this right here.